Well, folks, I don't know if you can tell actually how shallow I am right now, but it stopped registering at 1.4, and I was up on the flat catching bait in the Stamas. I'm just blown away by what this boat can do, but there's bait everywhere. It's a perfect size chumming bait. It's not huge, it's not small, but it's in between, so it's perfect to where I don't have to cut it up so much. But there's a lot of it on the flats, and if you're looking for bait, I would recommend Piney Point area, Pinellas Point area. There's pretty much bait everywhere over here. So but anyway, I'm just out for a little short trip. I actually had to drop off a couple of cast nets to a captain friend of mine, Captain George Hastick, and so I told him I would meet him at the boat ramp early this morning. So it's easier for me to come across by boat to St. Pete than it is for me to drive. So I said I'll just drop the boat and then I'll go and do some filming. So we're gonna go out. I'm gonna look for some new areas and see what we can find. Well, folks, I found this new ledge. It's not a very big ledge, but it's hard to find. You have to go over it a couple different ways to be able to see it, but they won't eat anything except for a small whitebait. They won't eat pinfish, they won't eat a heavier weight. They only want a 1/4 ounce, and they won't, I mean, they will not touch pinfish. But you know, the tide's not running very fast, so I think that's part of the reason why. But this ledge it's a pretty good ledge. I've caught a couple snapper on it. I keep losing fish because I can't feel them really well. But as soon as it gets to the bottom, they're on it. But I'm usually losing my bait, but I have to belly hook them too, because that's the only way that they're eating them. See, they're hitting them now. They're not like aggressively taking. See, as I always state, it's always hard when you're just one person on the boat trying to figure out the pattern of how they want it and what they want to eat. And so you just got to go through your progressions and figure it out. And that's what I did. But unfortunately, I think I'm set up too close to the ledge because the tide's moving just enough to get this bait out there. So I may be going past the ledge, so I may need to reset the boat. All I'm doing is taking these small whitebait and hooking them right in the belly. It's a 1/4 ounce huggy and sending it down. I've tried a heavier huggy, I've tried knocker rig, I've tried medium-sized huggy. And they won't touch it. Added a new spot to my machine. Found another nice ledge that I did not have marked again, and it's taking me a little bit to get, because the wind and the tide are going completely, they're not going against each other, but kind of. It's weird how it's setting the boat up. This feels like a pretty decent snapper. Yep, it sure is. That's a good one right there. That was a really good snapper. I knew as soon as he hit it, it was going to be a snapper. Hit a decent sized pinfish. Somebody just asked me, particularly for offshore, I like to chum most of the time when I'm offshore. If I'm inshore, I definitely want to chum when the tide is slack. Like right now, it's just barely starting to go out. And I've been using the slacker. I just caught a grouper, but they're coming up about halfway and grabbing the bait. But when it's inshore, inside the bay, I'll chum when the tide is slack or very, very slow moving. And then when I'm offshore, I like to chum as much as I possibly can. Like this last weekend, I think we had like four chum blocks that we went through. So chumming offshore, you don't have as strong as a current that you do like in here. Oh, God bless America. So utilizing that and using the chum gets those fish going and off the bottom. So I'm just, right now I've got bait that's small enough that put it in my hand and throw it out. Now the tide is now just starting to go out and it's supposed to pick up and it should shut the bite off, but I'm taking advantage of it right now as much as I can. I'm going 2 poles, which is like 15 feet, and as soon as I start to hand pull it, boom, they hit it. So I'm out looking for different spots, and I just ran along a ledge, and you can see it right there where it kind of dips down right there. That's telling me, it's showing me that there's fish on that ledge. So what I'll do, I marked it, and now I'm seeing some other debris coming up right here, some rocks, stuff like that. So that's telling me that there's some hard bottom and some rocky bottom in here along with this ledge. So there's more rocks right here. So anything abnormal like that, that's what I'm looking for. And then there was something else on a little bit of the show there. But anything abnormal, like this stuff in here is abnormal. So I definitely would look at that. Probably mark this. See more abnormal stuff here that I don't have marked. See, there's a little ledge to the left here. Mark that right in the middle. Another little ledge, some rocks. I gotta go back. Okay, now that I know we have the wind and the tide are now going with each other, so I'm going to come in at about a 60-degree heading, maybe a little bit, maybe 90 degrees, just a little bit, and then get 60 degrees because that's my heading. So I'm going to go past this one-way point. There's 2 ledges, one there and then one up above. I'm going down that ledge now. You can see it right there. And then I'm going to get to the other side because this tide is starting to go out, so I want to get to the up tide side of it and then work my way back. It's a relatively pretty big area with rocks and ledges and stuff, so I'll get above here. So there's the other edge of the ledge. You can see there's fish on it right there. So what I'll do is and then hit the button, and it's going to take me back about 15 feet, and it should put me right there and close to it so I can drop down. The tide's not moving real fast right now, so I'll probably be able to drop down and get right to it. So the boat's going to back up, whoops, to that spot there, and you can see some stuff to the left. There's going to be some stuff behind me, so I'm going to drop down and see what we can do. He hit it like a ton of bricks. A little grouper. I told you this morning that they were keyed in on whitebait. Well, ever since this tide started to turn and go out, they changed. They went to pinfish. I've been sending down whitebait, not getting bit. Just sent down a pinfish and boom, got bit. Basically, there's a couple ways we hook them. Basically, right now what I'm doing is I'm going underneath the lips and going through the top, and then sending them down on a quarter. This tide is still slow enough to where I can get them down. I'm only sitting in 35 feet of water, but there's a nice show of snapper coming up. So I'm hoping that I can get a couple more snapper from my neighbor Vic. Get him some snapper. I've got 3 in there. If I can get 2 more, I'd be happy. So I'm just judging by the line as if I've gotten to the bottom yet. So when I get close, I start feeding it by hand like this so I can feel it. Not a very big one, but it's a start. Now that that tide picked up just a little bit, what's going to happen is I'm using a 1/4 ounce now. I went from a slacker to a 1/4 because that tide just picked up just enough. Well, folks, welcome to another logbook for this video. As you can see, we were catching some fish. We were looking for some new areas. Every time I get to go out by myself, that's exactly what I like to do. I like to go out and try to find new areas and see if I can find some productive new areas. And that's exactly what we did. We went out and we caught some grouper, caught some snapper for our neighbor Vic. So I brought some back for him, and we were able to achieve finding new spots. And as you saw on the side imaging, that's exactly what I'm looking for, is anything that's abnormal. So pay attention to that. If you have side imaging, pay attention to that kind of stuff to see if you can find anything abnormal, because most of Tampa Bay is a flat average depth of 12 foot. And so if there's anything you see that's different, check it out. It doesn't hurt to send a bait down to see if anything's down there. In these conditions, we had an outgoing tide that morning, or actually, I'm sorry, incoming tide for that morning, and then it turned and started to go out in the early afternoon. We hit the major feeding time, but it wasn't very productive for me. But again, I think it was because of where I was sitting. I guarantee if I would have gone to one of my spots that produces all the time, we would have done very well, because that tide was very slow in the morning. But as I said, I like to go out and try to find new areas. So if I can find something new, it just excites me even more. Just going to the same spot over and over again just doesn't do it for me. The water temperature was 86 degrees, so it's climbed up just a little bit. And the weather, as you saw, was sunny. We had some storms build late in the afternoon, but mostly it was sunny skies. And so the barometric pressure was about steady. And that does affect fish. If the barometric pressure stays steady for a long period of time, that will shut the fish down a little bit. But one thing I did notice, the watercolor outside of the Skyway going towards Egmont, on Sunday the watercolor was a brown or a greenish color, greenish bluish, but yesterday it was a brownish color, like a tannic color past the Skyway. And that does affect the fish, because a couple of years ago I dropped the camera down and it went from seeing from about 15 feet. Once you get to 15 feet, it went completely black. And I think that's what's going on, because we've had so much fresh water. So I think that has something to do with it. But anyway, we had the major feeding time. I think it was from I don't know, I'll post it up here now because I can't remember it, but I'll post it right here. So we had a major feeding time that we worked through. It didn't produce like the minor major feeding times have been producing the last 5 or 6 trips, but it does happen because it's not 100%. So anyway, it was a fun trip, nice to get out. I had to go take those cast nets to a friend of mine, and so it gave me an opportunity to get out and do a little fishing. So again, I just want to say thank you to everybody. I really appreciate the support. I appreciate all the comments and everything. We're trying to get back to everybody as soon as possible. We will start doing the consultation trips in about 2 weeks. That's what I'm looking at. Next week doesn't look good at all with this storm possibly coming in. Hopefully it does not, but anyway, that's what the plan is. So again, I just want to say thank you very much for watching. Fish more, catch more, and we'll see you on the flip side.